All right. It's time for the Masterclass, week 2 in January 2023. The day that will go down in history as the best Masterclass day ever. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I don't know. I feel something historic's going to happen today. I'm going to just give it a minute here to make sure people coming in. If you are in the chat, this is your chance to, the masterclass, that is your chance to ask questions live while we're doing this. I'm going to have the chat open so I can see what's going on. If I miss it, then don't hold it against me. Actually, I did something with the chat, and there it is. There we go. All right, cool. Let's get started. Welcome to the Masterclass Week 2 in January 2023. This is the Masterclass session where we're going to be talking about mixing and recording, specifically recording. I'm going to start off with that because we talk about recording and using your computer to make music in a lot of my courses, but one of the main questions or concerns or wonderments that somebody has is, I don't know if I used that word right, is how do I get my guitar into my computer? Like, how do I make the computer doesn't have a big jack like that. Where do I plug it in? How do I get that sound? Then how do I get a good sound out of my guitar? How do I make it sound professional? Same thing with voice. How do you plug a mic into a computer? There's a lot of USB mics now where you just go mic into the computer. But when you use a USB mic, sometimes you bypass some crucial hardware that can make your sound good, like these guys here. So let's start with that. When recording into a computer, your guitar, as you know, has a 1/4-inch cable that looks like that. And it has a lot of mics have this big mic cable, which looks like that, which is called XLR. So that's 1/4-inch, that's XLR. Now, computers don't have those inputs on them typically, so you need a box, like a middleman, that you plug your guitar and your mic into, and then this middleman goes to the computer. Basically, what it's doing is translating analog waveforms. Like if you picture my voice is making a wave that goes like this, It's just really fast and it's audible to you. That's an analog wave coming out of my mouth. Our bodies are not digital yet. So how do you get an analog signal into a digital device like a computer? Well, that's what these things do. These are called audio interfaces, these little boxes. Sometimes they're even big boxes, depending on how much you spend. And what they do is they translate an analog signal into a digital signal that travels through USB into your computer. Now, you might be wondering, and you're probably not, but it's an interesting fact, how does an analog signal turn into a digital signal? In fact, I'm sure you're not wondering that, but it is cool. Like an analog signal, I explained is going like this. A digital signal is just ones and zeros. That's all digital is, ones and zeros. So it's basically approximating this curve with millions of calculations that are literally going in little steps, like little tiny steps, but they're so tiny that they seem like a curve like this. And so this takes an analog smooth signal and turns it into a choppy, if you want to look at it that way, a stepped digital signal. And it's, the technology has improved on these little guys so much in the past, 10 years, 15 years, that you can get really, really good results using a little box like this to do your recording. Now, this box is from a company called Focusrite, and it's the Focusrite Scarlet edition, which is the red. And you can see this is the one I'm actually using. This is a Focusrite. It's a little bigger than this one. This one's just the solo version. It's a great place to start, though, and I'm a big fan of them because I've tried many audio interfaces, and they make really solid ones. They make good sounding ones. No complaints ever. I think they're the most popular selling, home recording interfaces right now. And they're crushing it pretty good. I recommend. So if you don't have an audio interface yet, you need to get one so you can get your mic and your guitar into your computer. So once you buy one and you hook it up to your computer, which is essentially just following the directions because it's all different. But you might have to install some software typically to get your computer to communicate with the box, with the audio interface. And once you get that loaded, now you have to plug your instruments into the front of that thing. So that's where what we're gonna talk about right now. If we switch over to the screen, I'm using Studio One. I have a new project opened here. I'm just gonna hit OK, make a new project. And what you want to do to make sure Studio One is getting the information from your audio interface is you go up to Studio One up here, and you go to Options, and you go to Audio Setup. And you want to make sure your audio device is the thing you bought and you hooked up. Mine is Focusrite USB, and so I'm fine. But if mine was not Focusrite USB, I'd have to switch it from like Windows Audio or whatever else you got going on to the interface that you want to use. Okay? And you hit OK. And then once you do that, we have a blank project here. Well, how do I get the signal now and record from my microphone or my guitar or whatever I'm plugging into my interface? It could be a keyboard. It could be anything. How do I get that into the program? Well, should we start with guitar and mic? I think we should start with guitar because I'll sing over whatever I play on the guitar with the mic. Yeah, let's do the guitar. So I'm going to do this in real time here. I don't have a good camera shot of that. Do I want to mess with this? Let me just see. I'm going to grab a camera here. Yeah, we got some wiggle room. Let's put this guy right here. And can I switch to that? Is it upside down? It's upside down. Let me flip it. There we go. So you can see my audio interface is here. This middle one is the one I'm using here. And you can see this purple cable here. That's my guitar cable. And so that goes to my guitar. So I plug that in. I'm plugging it into channel number 2 on my box. And then you can see the box has a little knob right here. That's the amount of signal you're putting into the box. Like that's the amount of signal my guitar is putting into the box. And you want to adjust that signal so it's not too loud and it's not too soft. So let me get my guitar. I forgot to bring a pick in, so I might just use I'm going to use a flash drive as a pick because it's the only thing I have on my desk. It kind of works. All right, so I have my guitar, and I got the cable coming out of the guitar, the purple, you saw that, and that goes in the box down here. There's that purple cable. Let me get this out of the way. That's my headphones. And I'm going to turn up the volume on my guitar. I'm going to start playing. Okay, you see how it lights up? That shows that the signal's coming in to that channel. But it's going from green to like red. When you're getting red, that's a little too much signal. So you want to turn it down a little bit so it just stays in the green. And it's still getting a little loud, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit more. All right, now it's kind of staying in the green. Sometimes it goes into the yellow, but it's not hitting red, so I think we're good there. That shows you're getting a nice, healthy signal into the system there. So those knobs on the front of your interfaces are called gains, and they just allow you to get a nice, healthy signal. You can also see if you're getting a healthy signal by looking at your software, too. Like, just wonder if I do have an actual pick around. I don't want to get up. Lazy. So how do we get the signal into the computer so we can see if it's a healthy signal coming into the computer and we can record? Well, what I like to do is I right-click over in this area, and I add an audio track, mono. Unless you're doing like a keyboard that is an actual stereo, you have two signals coming in. But we have a guitar, and it's just one signal, so that's mono. So I add an audio track, mono. And then it makes this little track here. Now, this little drop down here is going to basically ask you, what hole, like what input on your audio box do you want me to record? The left one or the right one? Because mine only has two. And I know my guitar is plugged into the right one. So I'm going to pick right. Because my mic is plugged into my left, and we're gonna mess with that in the next section. So I'm picked the right one. And now when I play the guitar, still nothing. Like, why is no signal coming through? It's weird, right? Well, that's what these little buttons up here are for. This little circle button is called the arm button. It arms the track, just like you're arming yourself to go to battle. It arms the track for recording, whereas recording is the battle. So it needs to be armed, ready to go. So when you click that, you now get the signal coming through. You hear it now? Now you could tell it's a nice healthy signal because it's not this little green line is not going all the way to the top into the red, and it's not hovering too far into the bottom down here. It's just hovering in the middle, in the green. So we got a nice healthy signal. If we hit too hard, yeah, we see we're not going in the red. That's good. If it starts turning red, that's bad. Some of you see how the sounds with the flash drive as my pick. Yeah, it works. All right, now my guitar's out of tune, which is perfect because when you're inputting your mic and your guitar and your keyboards into the computer can do so much cool stuff with that signal. It could change it, it could add effects to it, and all kinds of cool stuff. And it could also, if you have a guitar, open up, it could tune it. Or it could show you a tuner. You have to tune it yourself. So let's just go over to Effects and open up our Presonus in Presonus. And let's just come over to Tuner. Tuner. And just drop it in there. And now I'm going to tune up my guitar. That's good. That's good. That's kind of good. That's good. It's a little too sharp. Okay, good. Pretty neat, right? All right, so why don't I record something into the computer? All right, so to record into the computer, the track needs to be armed, like I said. And if this track is armed, and you see that little red light up there, that means that when you hit the main record button down here, that track will record. If this isn't selected and I hit the record button here, nothing. But if it is selected and I hit the record button, you can see now it's recording with that green line. So we could just put some tracks in here. Let's see what we're going to do. All right, let's try this. All right, that's all we're going to record there. So let's see how it sounds. Okay, it's a little low, so we're going to raise the volume. But you can hear that we recorded it. Now, just like in the first video last week, you can manipulate your clip up here, your event, which is what this blue thing is called. It's an event. You can chop it and resize it and all kinds of stuff. So what I'm going to do is just make sure it starts right when I started playing. And I'm going to bring that all the way to the beginning of the song. So as soon as I go to the beginning of the song, it plays. Now, if you could see the waveform and you look at it, you know, it's got peaks and valleys and it's visible. You could see it. That's how you know you have a good signal too. If it's so small that you can hardly see any of the peaks, then it's probably recorded too low. And if it's so loud that it goes off the edge of the clip of the event here, that's probably too loud. Let me get a sip of coffee here. So I have a track that's kind of right in the middle. It's a good volume. So it's very plain right now. It's just a raw guitar signal. So it doesn't sound awesome. So what can we do with that? You know, I didn't record through an amp or anything. I just recorded straight into my computer. And I'm a guitarist, and I'm a rock guitarist. I have a pop-punk band, Area 52, and I like distortion. So just plugging straight into a computer is going to be boring. It's another awesome thing about using a computer is, especially in this day and age, there's all kinds of amazing amp simulations you could get with software that sound badass, okay? And we're just going to use the one inside Persona Studio One because I want you guys to be able to follow along. And if you go into Studio One, under Effects, right where we got the tuner, you can see a plugin called Ampire. If we drag Ampire onto that track, now we just basically put a Marshall stack with a pedal board into that track. And here's how that sounds. It's pretty cool, right? And you can adjust these knobs just like you would adjust your typical guitar setup. You could even pick different cabinets you want to use. If you don't want to use the Marshall cabinet, different amp heads you could use. It's really neat. It almost makes it feel like you don't need an amp anymore. I've recorded some pretty, at least tracks that I'm happy with just using guitar simulator software like that. I didn't use Ampire because I have one that I remember using before and I liked called Guitar Rig. And Guitar Rig is from a company called Native Instruments. But, man, there's so many different awesome ones that are out there. There's Guitar Rig. There's Amplitube, I believe, is one. There's THX, I think, is one. You just do a search for Amp Simulator. You get all kinds of cool stuff. But this one's built into Studio One, and it's solid. So we're just going to use it. I like it. All right. So what I like to do, especially with distortion guitars, is record 2 tracks, do 2 different takes, and layer them on top of each other. And that's kind of like how we get into mixing a little bit. So let's do that. I'm going to pick up my guitar again. I'm going to pick up my SD card pick. It's 2 gigabytes. That's the best for SD card picking. And I'm going to go back to the beginning of the track. I'm not going to record over this track because I like this take. So I'm just going to right-click down here again and add another track, audio track mono. This time I'm going to drag Ampire in so I could hear it while I'm playing. Before I was just hearing the regular old guitar signal. Oh wow, my mic is coming through that. Isn't that cool? The mic is coming through because I picked left input. I'm going to switch it to right input, and then there's my guitar. That was cool, though. We might do that later and just screw around with it. And by the way, that's another cool thing about recording into a computer. Endless possibilities for effects and any like psychedelic experimental crap you want to do. computers lend themselves really well to that, and it's unlimited fun and excitement and exploration. All right, so I'm going to keep that Marshall amp for now. We'll switch it up later, but I'm going to just record along with the top track. Now remember to make sure your track's armed, and then I hit record. Here we go. Hang on a second. Let's try again. All right. I didn't strum the last part. I'll keep it. Why not? So let me put the guitar down. All right, so we have 2 guitar tracks now, and they line up pretty good. I mean, my timing wasn't perfect. And if you zoom in using the methods we talked about in week 1, how to zoom and navigate around in Studio One, you can see that the waveforms kind of match up on both. Now, the reason I did 2 guitar tracks is, most rock recordings have multiple guitar tracks recorded on them. And a fun thing to do, which actually makes your guitar sound cool, is to switch them up a little bit. Like my second guitar track here, I don't want to use the Marshall stack for that one. I want to use something else, and I want to mix it with the first one and see how good it sounds. So I want to open up the inspector in here so I can easily get back to Ampire, which is where I adjust that. So if I open up the inspector, I see that Ampire is right there, and Ampire is right there for that one. Before I do that, I do want to go over one more thing, especially with guitars. It's fun to make one guitar come out of one speaker and another guitar come out of another speaker. This way it creates this stereo wall of sound, which is really cool. So watch, I'm going to just do that with the software here. With track 1, if you have your inspector open, you can see all the settings for track 1. This over here is called panning. This little blue line. See how it says pan and then a C? That means center. If I move it to the left, it's going to come out the left speaker. Watch, I'm going to solo the top track, and I'll show you what I mean by panning. See, it's coming out of the left speaker now. If you have headphones on, you can hear what I'm talking about. And all the way to the right, now it's coming out the right. So I actually want to keep that one about at the right, maybe at like 75. And then I want to make the bottom one come out the left at 75, and now we have like a stereo sound. Check it out. Cool. Now, it's cool that it's stereo like that, but wouldn't it even be more fun if the one coming out of the left speaker has a different amp simulator than the top one? So let's play it again and experiment with different amp settings and see how they mix together. I'm going to go up here to crunch. I'm going to try some crunchy sounds here. All right, and I'm going to use these arrows to go to the next to cycle through the presets and see if anything sounds really cool. Here we go. That might be pretty cool. Is that the same setting? No, they're different. I guess that's pretty cool. It's very similar though. Let's see if there's anything else. That's a cool sounding amp, actually. I never used that one. That's pretty badass. Yeah, I like it. All right, so for the second one, we're using this metal 80s soloing, but look at all the things that are in there. That's pretty neat. Even a reverb. Cool. All right, so we have two guitars there, and they're layered on top of each other. One's coming out the left speaker, one's coming out the right speaker. So let's add some drums in there now. So I'm going to go to Instruments, and I'm going to go to Personas. I'm just going to go to Impact. Actually, no, let's go to Presence, because there's some real basic drum kits in Presence. And let's go to under Artist Instruments, Drum Kits. Let's see if there's like a metal kit or something. What's Stadium Kit? Let's try that. All right, I'm just going to play that in. So you want to make sure just the track you want to record on is armed. So I want to unarm that one. So just this one is armed. And I'm going to hit record, play some drums. All right, cool. And what I like to do on my drums, just if I'm doing a real quick little beat here, I make sure that event is selected and I hit the letter Q. And watch what happens when I hit Q. All the notes go right on time. So it's perfect time. Cool. Now I want to add some cymbals too. Probably something like that. So I'm gonna play again. I'm just gonna play over it, and it'll dub that what's it called? That cymbal into the recording. I'm gonna put my webcam back up here so you guys could see if maybe I could do them. Show the keyboard as I'm doing this. For fun. Let's try that. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm gonna hit Q. All right, we throw a couple cymbals hits in there. Crash cymbal. All right, hit Q. Good deal. If you don't like any of your hits that you put in there, you can just come down to the editor and delete them. And here's how this sounds total. All right, sounds pretty good. All right, so next thing I want to do is put a little bit of bass guitar in there. Now, I don't have a bass set up. So I could use my guitar and then like tune it down so it sounds like a bass, or I could just use one of the instruments inside Studio One and make a bass line. So let's go to Presence and drag Presence in, and let's go looking for bass, and let's go to maybe vintage bass, pick, and we'll do pick full. And you can experiment with all kinds of sounds, see what you like, but this is pretty good bass. Let's try that one. It didn't sound right, but let me try it again. Oh, I'm playing in the wrong key. Sorry. All right. No wonder. There we go. Let's try that again. Jesus. Cool. So I'm going to hit Q to quantize it, and I hit a wrong note here. This should be D, F sharp. So I just bring it down one. Yeah, good enough. So now we got a bass line in there. It's pretty fun, right? We're making a song. It's coffee time. All right, cool. We got 4 tracks now. It's almost a legit song. So what was I going to do here? I had a bit of an idea. Oh, what I like to do at this point to keep things tidy and organized and easy as I progress is do a little bit of organization now. Like, for example, I always make my drums yellow. It's just what I always did from the start. So if you click over here in this section, or even up here, you could turn the track a certain color. I'm going to make mine yellow. I like to make my basses red, so I'm going to pick red. And the guitars can stay blue. And I like to put my drums up at the top. So you can shift your tracks around here in the arranger view. I'll put the bass second. And then all the goodness after that underneath. And then if you hit F3, it opens up our mixer. Now, the way the mixer by default launches, there's a lot going on here. And most of it I don't need. So I do this quick little thing where I shrink the mixer and I make it easier to confront because there's too much going on here. Like, for example, this section we don't need. This section with instruments we don't really need. So in this line of icons here, and you could probably, once you do this once, you could probably save this as a template so you don't have to do this every time, but I just do it every time. I click this section here, which turns off this little chunk here, which we don't need to go into right now, what that chunk even is. I just click that button down there. That takes out that chunk. And then I click this keyboard button here, which takes out the chunk that was right next to it that we don't really need right now. It's just kind of getting in the way. And then I hit these 2 little buttons up here. One of them shrinks the mixer down, and one of them shrinks the mixer sideways. So now we have 4 cute little mixing tracks and nothing else that's there to just really confuse us at this point. All that other stuff is very useful if you know what you're looking at, but we don't need it right now. So I do it again. I go bing, 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 bing. If you ever watch my YouTube videos, you see me doing it all the time. I go bing, 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 and it just creates a lot of space and makes the screen a little bit easier to look at. And then now we can adjust our volume levels for all of our instruments. Like, for example, these guitars down here, we'll mess with them to make sure they're the right volume. And the bass is there. And you can see when we pick the track at the top, it grays that track out in the mixer too. So we'll adjust volumes. But first, let's name the tracks down here in our mixer so we know what they are. Because right now, they're just telling us what instrument we use in track 1 and 2, but it's sitting on track 3 and 4. It's confusing. So another way to keep things nice and tidy is to title these things as you go along. Like, I'm just going to double click on the yellow down here. I'm going to call it drums, because that's our drums. And then I'm going to double click on the red. I'm going to call it bass. And then I'm going to click on this blue one and call it Guitar 1. And I'm going to click on this one and call it Guitar 2. So now we could look at a glance and see down here what we're dealing with. So if we want to raise or lower the volume of any of these guitars, we could do it and know what the heck we're doing. So let's do that now. Cool beans. Now, when you are messing around down here and adjusting levels, like I want to show you something. If you hit S on the top of any of those of the tracks, it solos that track. So if I hit S over the drums, it's just going to play drums. You see how it's going into the red there? You don't want your stuff going into the red. It means it's too loud. So if things are coming through too loud and going into the red, you know, when you actually like make your song into an MP3, if you come over here and you see that this is red up here, that means there's going to be distortion in your final recording because it's too hot. The signal's too hot. We don't want distortion in our final recording. This is a little warning, this red 164 up here. It means it went 164 whatevers over where it was supposed to go. So if you click that, it resets that. Okay? Click the red, it resets it. And then we could test it again to see if we go into red. Yeah, it's going like 93. It went immediately into the red. Okay, let's click it again. That means we got to tune our drums down here, or turn the volume of the drums down. So let's bring the drums down. Okay. It's still red. Maybe like there. That's a good healthy volume. So it's not going in the red anymore. Let's see what happens when we play the bass too. All right, we can lower our bass. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's add guitar 1. Oh, see, it went into the red, so let's bring it down a little bit. And let's add another guitar here. All right, that's a good healthy volume. It's still going a little into the red here with 1. So here's another mixing trick that I'm ready to talk about right now. I think you guys are ready for it. When you're mixing all your stuff together, it all comes out of these final 2 tracks called your main outputs, these 2 little outputs at the end of your song. And if you go to the screen, you can see those 2 little outputs are right here, output 1 and 2. Everything you're mixing together in here is going to end up in the final thing over here, the main output. That's why it's all the way here on the right. It's like the final station before the sound leaves the program and goes out to your speakers. So what do you want to do? What you want to make sure that happens in this final output here is it's not so loud that it's going to get distorted. Well, one way to do that is with a little plugin called a limiter, because it limits how much sound can come out of that channel without distorting it. It's actually pretty cool. Some limiters are called brick wall limiters because it's like you literally are building a brick wall over your sound. So anytime sound tries to get too loud and come through, it can't because there's a wall there. So I like to put a limiter on the track just to save and be very, just to make sure I'm not distorting anything. I'm going to throw a limiter on that track. So how do I get a limiter on this track here? Well, I could go into Effects, and I could go to Limiter, and I'm just going to drag it onto that track, let it go, and here's the settings. Now, the settings used to have this one, and we're not going to get into all the knobs, but if you want to make it like a brick wall, I bring that to 0. Okay, so if the threshold's at 3, just bring it to 0. And now watch, this will not get red anymore because we just literally put a brick wall over the final output. I could even turn the drums up a little bit now and it's not going to get distorted because I got the brick wall there. See, it didn't go into the red, which is nice. I'm going to double click in this anywhere in this blank area here. Check it out. No, not there. If I double click here, maybe? Okay, if I double click here, it allows me to get back to my limiter that I put in there. See, double click, it opens up my effects. I got the limiter in here, so let's open that up again. I want to show you. You could see if the limiter is actually working and actually squashing down sound. Watch. You see this little yellow that's appearing right here under reduction? That little yellow right there. You're going to see little flashes of yellow. That means the limiter doing its job. Anytime you see yellow there, that would have meant sound would have made it through the brick wall, but the limiter's there, brick walling it, so it's not going into the red. That means the yellow means it's working. So I know the limiter's working. You can also tell if the limiter's working because it's not showing up red here. Anyway, that is recording 2 guitar tracks, a bass, and drum. So let's put vocals in there now. So let me warm up my voice. Me, 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 me. Okay, I'm warmed up. Getting audio or getting vocals or getting audio from your mic into the program is the same way we did it with the guitar, except I'm not plugging it into channel 2 on my box. I'm plugging it into channel 1. So the mic goes in here, and then the same thing, you got to adjust your gain knob so it's not too loud, not too soft. So let's look in the program and see what our waveform looks like so we know we're not coming in too loud or too soft. So I'm going to shrink these guys down a little bit. I'm going to right-click in. Oops. Let me show you. Okay, what I did was I shrunk these guys down a little bit with this little function here, so it just creates a little bit more space for us. And then I'm going to right-click in here. I'm going to add an audio track mono. And I'm going to expand it out here so we can look at the waveform. So I'm just going to drag it out. And you remember what needs to happen before you see sound on that track. You have to arm it. Arm it. Boom, boom, boom. Now you can see from that green meter there, we got sound coming through. Is it coming through too hot? Is it going into the red? No, it's about right. But if I get loud, you see what happened right there? It got red. Sorry for yelling in your ear. But I needed to show you the example. I mean, sometimes you got to sacrifice stuff to get the goods. All right, so I think my coffee's kicking in. I tend to get a little goofy, probably not even funny, but I amuse myself when my coffee kicks in. So sorry about that. Here we go. Let's get back to business here. All right, so now that track is armed, right? If I hit the record button, I can see my signal being recorded. See my voice? The waveform's not too loud, it's not too soft. I think it's about right. I'm going to solo that. You can hear it. I can see my signal being recorded. See my voice? The waveform's not too loud, it's not too soft. I think it's about right. So that looked like a good, healthy waveform. So let's actually record a vocal over this now and see what we could sing. Doing the Masterclass right now. The Masterclass will show you how. Yeah. Masterclass. All right. Let's listen to that. Doing the Masterclass right now. All right. It's not very loud, so I'm going to unarm it so you're not hearing me double now. It's not very loud, so we could turn up the volume and see if we can get a nice, healthy signal going here without getting too far in the red. Doing the Masterclass right now. The Masterclass will show you how. Yeah. Masterclass. All right, cool. All right, now that we have that recorded, let's do another audio track and sing backups now. Doing the Doing the Masterclass right now. The Masterclass will show you Okay, now I've messed up the second part because this is the first time I'm singing that. But anyway, you can get rid of that part of the audio clip, and you could put your timeline anywhere else you want to start it, and just start right from that point. The Masterclass will show you how. Yeah. Masterclass. All right, so now we have two vocals. Let's hear how they sound together. Doing the Masterclass right now. The Masterclass will show you how. Yeah. Masterclass. It's ridiculous. So funny. All right. So we have two vocal tracks, and they don't sound that bad. And next week, I'm going to show you how to process the vocals to, make them sound professional. There is also another course. If you guys, okay, I'll tell you what, you guys, because you're Masterclass users. If you send me a message, I'll send you this recording vocals course. It'll basically explain a little bit what I went over today, but it will also show you how to put effects on your voice so it sounds professional, and then actually tune them with auto-tuning program that's not built in. It attaches into Studio One, but you get a version of it, I think, with Studio One Professional that allows you to tune the vocals as well. But anyway, send me a message, or open a support ticket, or just hit me up at mail@DAWJunkie.com, or hit me up any way you want. And say, Steve, I want the recording vocals course, and I'll add it to your account so you have access to that. It's just a little bit of extra training. Next week, we are going to go over effects, which covers a lot of stuff in that course too. But right now, I'm just going to add a little bit of tiny effects on here so you can hear how it sound. We can make the vocal sound better in the mix. So here we go. I'm going to solo both of these audio tracks. I'm doing the Masterclass right now. Okay, now first off, I don't know if you could hear it if you're not on a real good speaker system. There's clicks and noise and a little bit of background noise being recorded in here while the vocal is playing. Now, that's just because the mic picked it up. But a nice thing to do when you're mixing a song is just get rid of all that stuff that is not necessary. So any extra audio, you can just edit it out. Why is it doing that? Okay, there we go. For example, right here, I'll just get rid of little chunks. This way, we're just kept with the good stuff. Oops. So this is a quick little way of getting rid of some of the noise and stuff that's in your signal that you might not want. You don't have to do it, but you can. Doing the Masterclass right now. See, now it's completely silent in this section. The Masterclass will show you how. Yeah. You could even go in tighter if you want. I'm gonna turn off snapping. Snapping is this button up here. If snapping's on, everything you do goes right to the grid line. See how everything's clicking right to that grid line? If you turn off snapping, no more restrictions of the grid line. So you could really just go zero in. Because these started there was a little bit of noise before these that I heard, a little clicking. Because I was getting excited here behind the mic. Anyway, Masterclass. And that little clip, let's get rid of it. Masterclass. There we go. All right, so that's a little way to tidy up your vocals. And I think I usually do green for vocals. So now our vocals are tidied up. Let's hear how they sound in the mix and try to get them to sound as good as possible. Because right now there's no effects on them. It's just very dry. Doing the Masterclass right now. Damn, my voice isn't that bad, is it? Proud of myself. So let's just hear how it sounds in the mix. See if we got a good volume set.
Doing the masterclass right now. The masterclass will show you how. Yeah. Masterclass.
All right, cool. So I'm going to show you one little effect you can put on vocals that a lot of people use when they record vocals and edit vocals and mix vocals. So right now what we're doing is mixing. That means all of our stuff is recorded and we're just mixing it all together so it sounds good together. A very popular thing to put on vocals is what's called a compressor. This device here. I'm going to put it on this track. And I'm going to solo this track. And what a compressor does is essentially compress down, push down on the volume of a track so it doesn't get too loud. Like if I start screaming and I get really loud, the compressor chills it down. But also when I get really low and I talk and it's quiet, the compressor can pull that up too. So you have this nice, consistent like waveform. And it's not too loud, not too soft. Just nice and consistent all the way across. Boom, boom. So we're going to put a little bit of compression on here. And we're going to talk more about compression next week in effects and EQ. So I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I'm just going to put a little bit on it for today.
Doing the masterclass right now.
I'm going to bring this threshold down.
Doing the masterclass right now. The masterclass will show you how.
I'm going to add a little bit of this makeup gain at the end.
Doing the masterclass right now.
All right, just a little bit of compression we put there. So it just keeps the signal a little tame.
Doing the masterclass right now. Doing the masterclass right now. Masterclass will show you how.
All right, cool. Now, there's one more mixing trip I want to oh, gosh, you guys didn't see that. Damn. I hate it when I do that. All right, anyway, let me back up. I put a compressor on both of these tracks, and I just adjust the threshold a little bit. So
doing the masterclass right now.
So it just tames the signal a little bit. You could see this yellow here is how much it's pushing down on the vocal, just to tame it a little bit.
Doing the masterclass right now.
See that yellow that's happening there? It's just pushing the signal down a little bit so it doesn't get too loud and too crazy. I did that on both tracks, and I adjusted how much it's pushing down with this one button knob here called the threshold. But anyway, that's not important. We're going to cover compression next week. Don't get overwhelmed by that. I want to show you one more thing in mixing, which is a neat feature. And a lot of old school mixing boards. Did you ever see the pictures of like just mixing boards in a studio with like 64 channels of just knobs and faders? Some of those knobs and faders are what's called in a bus. Okay, what's a bus? We're going to create a bus here. Okay, watch this. I'm going to right click, and I want to add a bus channel. Think of a bus. I don't know why they use that term or what the Latin derivation is and why it's being used, but because it's confusing. But it's not your normal definition of a bus. It's not a school bus. It's not a vehicle. It's not anything like that. It's a channel in your mixer that you can send all kinds of other tracks to. You could send all these tracks to a bus. Like, for example, say I wanted to add an effect to 5 different channels on 5 different tracks of my song. Well, in the software, I'd have to like drag it to one. I'd have to drag that effect to another one. I have to drag it to the third one and the fourth one and the fifth one. And now I have 5 instances of that effect going on my computer. And a computer has only so much processing power. It can only process so much before it starts to kind of break down. So if you have 5 effects going at one time, it's a lot. Wouldn't it be nice if you could send all those tracks to a spot that has that one effect that you want in it, and they're all using that one effect instead of 5 separate instances of one. That's what a bus is. A bus is that spot in your computer, and it just looks like a mixing channel down here. It's that spot where you can send other tracks to, so you can process them all at the same time with the same effect. Like here's an example. Here's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, I'm just gonna double click right under the decibels here in this little empty area. That's how you pop open these mixing tracks if you want to get more in depth into them and see what's going on there. I think you could also do it. Can you do it here too? Yeah, you can do it down there too. All right, so this is my bus. So what effect do I want to add to these vocals? I wanted to add a bit of a delay. So let me just go to let's go to beat delay. I'm going to put that in inserts. And now, if I play this, it's just solo the vocals.
Doing the math.
Nothing happened. Nothing is being sent to the bus. I didn't tell these vocal tracks I want you to go to the bus. So they're just playing normal.
Masterclass right now.
But I can tell them to go to the bus if I want. I just want to open one. And instead of sending it right to the main here, I want to double click that and I want to send it to the bus. Now it's going to go to the bus. And I want to do the same thing for this guy. Send this audio track to the bus. Now these 2 audio tracks are getting on the bus. Now watch, you'll see the bus here now. It'll have volume in it. And the bus has this delay on it. Like watch if I turn the delay off.
Doing the math.
No delay. Watch if I turn the delay on. So that's way too much delay for my vocals. So let's go into our delay. And let's not add so much, just a little bit. And see how that sounds.
Doing the masterclass right now.
Still too much. So I'm going to make it like a dotted eighth, like an eighth like that. So let's try that.
Doing the...
And the feedback, much less. How about this?
Doing the math.
And a little more, a little less there.
Doing the masterclass right now. The masterclass will show you how.
All right, let's hear how that sounds now. I'm going to unsolo everything. And I hope that made sense. I basically took the 2 audio tracks that I wanted to add delay to, and I sent them to a bus, so they're all going to the same, down the same chute, and they're getting treated with the delay. Hope that made sense. Let's hear how it sounds volume-wise now, because sometimes delay makes it sound a little lower. And if it is too low now, I can adjust the volume of both vocals at the same time by adjusting the bus volume. Watch this. I'm going to raise the bus volume. It'll raise both the vocals now.
Doing the masterclass right now. The masterclass will show you how. Yeah.
Masterclass. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
The masterclass will show you how. Yeah.
Masterclass. Okay, I think the volumes are good. The delay sounds pretty good. For our purposes today, I think we went over some cool stuff. That's for fun, though. It's for fun. Let's bring these on their own separate track. And let's add distortion to this one. Let's put an amp on that one. So now we got it.
Masterclass. The masterclass will show you how. Yeah. Masterclass.
See, you could put all kinds of cool effects on things. It's kind of fun. But we're going to get into that more next week. Any questions in the chat? Hit me up. We went over recording guitar, recording vocals, playing in bass, playing in drums, mixing it all together. We put a limiter on the output here so it doesn't go into the red. And I showed you how to make buses so you can send multiple tracks to one specific spot and then adjust it with just one knob there, the bus. I mean, I could even put a chorus in before the delay on the vocals. And here's what that's.
Masterclass will show you how.
It's actually pretty cool. Let's try that.
Doing the masterclass right now. The masterclass will show you how. Yeah. Masterclass.
All right. That'll be on the DAWJunkie album. That song. It's actually pretty good. I'm going to be singing that song all day long, by the way. All right, so hit me up with any questions. If you what did I miss? If there's anything you wanted covered, you guys are Masterclass members now, so you have the power to get into my mind and extract what you want. That's going to be it for today's class. See you guys next time. What was I going to say? Yeah, tune in the YouTube channel. I do some more advanced stuff there, but I literally just sit at Starbucks and I create songs and I just record them and stream them out. So you can see me going pretty much as fast as I can creating something. It's interesting. You might learn something there. Check out all the courses at DAWJunkie. Read the emails as they come through. I'm always offering something new, coming out with cool new stuff. I might be doing some podcasting soon. Don't know yet. But I am curious to know what you guys want and need. So hit me up and I'll talk to you later.